Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Trilbee and welcome to my review of the latest Aardman animation stop-motion movie, Aardman, directed by Nick Park with a screenplay by Mark Burton and James Higginson. Aardman are essentially the UK equivalent of Pixar animations, where every single one of their films is just brimming with detail, some great characters, memorable set pieces, and they're just generally really awesome. And I was really anticipating Aardman. I liked the cast. You've got Eddie Redmayne, Tom Hiddleston, Maisie Williams and more, and this is also the first time that Nick Park, who is the main head honcho over at Aardman Animations, the creator of Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run and more, he is in the director's chair here for the first time in 10 years. The last time he directed a film was the short film A Matter of Loaf and Death, the Wallace and Gromit short from 2008. Aardman takes place in the Stone Age, and there's a group of cavemen who are living in the valley where the original meteor landed to wipe out the dinosaurs. One of the cavemen is named Doug, and he wants to try and get the tribe out of the valley in order to hunt bigger and bigger prey as opposed to just eating and surviving on rabbits all their lives. But the Bronze Age comes knocking when Lord Nuth, voiced by Tom Hiddleston, takes over the valley and kicks the tribe out, but Doug discovers that Lord Nuth really loves football, as in UK football, soccer, not American football, and challenges the Bronze team to a game of football in order to get their valley back. So essentially Aardman is a sports movie, and there's only one of two ways this film's going to end. It's either going to be glorious victory or glorious defeat. What matters is the journey, and with Aardman the journey is actually quite tame. All of the cavemen, despite being voiced by a who's who's of British talent, for example Timothy Spall, Selena Griffith, Richard Ayoade, Johnny Vegas, Mark Williams, Simon Greenall and more, they don't really have much in terms of distinct personality. In fact, when their names came up at the end of the credits, what you normally want when you realise that it was a certain actor voicing a certain character, you think, oh, I had no idea that was them, that was my favourite character, I had no idea that one of my favourite comedians was also voicing them, but in this case it's, oh, they were voicing that character who I've already forgotten about. The characters are really bland, and while I'm not expecting Shakespearean depth with a story based around cavemen having to fight bronze-aged people in a game of football, I'm expecting at least the barest minimum of character development, and Aardman, despite not even being 90 minutes long, really has minimal character growth for everyone involved. For example, one of the citizens in the Bronze Age city is called Guna, and she's voiced by Maisie Williams, and what she wants to do is that because she's a girl, she can't play football, but she's really good and she really wants to, and her arc is just, character wants to play football, character then plays football. That's the type of arch characterization that we're dealing with, and while something that incredibly simple is not necessarily bad, it's the background details and the other elements of the film that are meant to tie it all together and make it memorable, and Aardman, despite this being an Aardman Animations film, doesn't really have anything like that. In previous films like Shaun the Sheep or Pirates and Adventure of Scientists or Arthur Christmas and Flushed Away and more, there are so many background details and so many little jokes and details in the background, or how characters are designed and how environments are built and literally handcrafted, but with Aardman the backgrounds are bland. Most of the film takes place in the Badlands, and it's your basic prehistoric, post-apocalyptic hellscape. The valley is just your average everyday forest, and even the Bronze City doesn't really have that much in regards to background detail. That's not to say the environments aren't very well designed, but it feels like such a cost-saving measure. It's also not helped that many of the backgrounds in the film are done on green screen, and the green screen is really obvious. There's just something about where the characters are placed and the outlines around them, and how in or out of focus the backgrounds are, that really makes it obvious that this is a green screen background and not necessarily a tangible world. That's not to say there's nothing to like in Aardman. The characters are likeable enough, the story is easy enough to follow, and while there don't seem to be nearly as many jokes in this film as there are in previous Aardman films like Pirates or Shaun the Sheep or Wallace and Gromit, they're still there and they are still pretty funny. But I get the sense with Aardman that the film is skewing at a much younger audience than Aardman typically does. Even when compared to Shaun the Sheep movie, there just doesn't seem to be as many jokes, and the jokes that are here aren't quite as clever or as well thought out as previous films they've done. Yes, they get a lot of mileage out of the word tackle, and there's a great gag with a duck that was unfortunately spoiled in the trailers, but really, there's not much to keep you laughing at Aardman unless you're very young. And part of me thinks this may be a result of the partnership with Amazon Studios. Not necessarily that the film is dumbed down, but if you target your film towards a much younger audience, like a Shaun the Sheep age audience, then you might get many more downloads on Amazon Prime, or parents may want to download the film for their kids because they like Shaun the Sheep, or they want a football sports movie that is family friendly that kids can watch when the World Cup happens later this year. That's what Aardman really feels like to me, a summertime distraction for the kids to watch on DVD or on Amazon Prime when the football stopped playing but they still still want to watch some sports action on TV. As is typical with an Aardman film, the voice acting's pretty good and the animation's well done, as is to be expected. You can still see the fingerprints on these plasticine figures, and that's always a really charming touch. But there's so little to gravitate towards in Early Man as opposed to other Aardman films that I really can't recommend you going out and watching it in theatres or buying it on Blu-ray when you can just rent Chicken Run or Shaun the Sheep the movie or Pirates or Arthur Christmas or any other Wallace and Gromit shorts. You can buy every Wallace and Gromit film out there for about £5, which is going to be half the price of an Early Man movie ticket. The football action isn't particularly interesting or inventive. Gooner brings up a weakness in the Bronze Age team that never actually gets a payoff in the final match. And there isn't a single interesting plot point or investing emotional beat. Early Man just feels like such a nothing film, something that Illumination Entertainment would release. But I really expect much better from Aardman, and in my opinion, I actually think this is their weakest feature-length film. If you were to do a ranking of Aardman films, hypothetically speaking, from best to worst, you have Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit, Chicken Run, Arthur Christmas, Pirates and Adventure of Scientists, Shaun the Sheep the movie, Flushed Away, and then spacebar, 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 Early Man. Early Man is their weakest and blandest film by a very wide margin. There's certainly some charm to be had and it's really inoffensive, but outside the absolute youngest age demographic, I really can't recommend anything in here. I give Early Man 2.5 stars out of 5. Hey folks, thanks so much for watching this video, and oh my goodness, who are these names? Who are these awesome, really cool people? Well, they are my patrons. They help to keep the lights on here at Trilbee Reviews. They get early access to some of my content and also including my podcast, the Film Brits podcast. They also get to be a part of the podcast by asking questions and submitting topics and such. So if you would like to help support the content and also get involved in the podcast and other videos and also get your names in the credits like these handsome devils, then please consider becoming a patron. Links in the description below.